Whoa, hello. Hey everybody, Boom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. I have some sacrificial CDs to become bases. I have Gwen Stefani, Love Angel Music Baby, and Froggy's 12 Bands of Christmas from Froggy radio station. Anyways, yay. Also, I have a box from some jumbo shells that we consume for dinner. What I'd like to do is put that on there and make a base. So to make a base on a CD, it's the most basic shit. You got to rough it up so that you get a good bond and everything sticks. You can use a wire brush. If you're using hot glue, using a heat gun or a lighter won't really work well. You got to kind of have these like scratches to get a good bond. The more the better, I suppose. I don't know if there's a magic amount of scratches that are perfect. There might be. So anyways, I want to get an extra glue stick out. So what I want to do is I want to start around the outside, around the outside, around the outside. Close to the edge, but not all the way to the edge. Then sporadically in here. Get some more. Then I want to pop this down. Flip it over. Make sure that we're good to go. And then just use a little bit of pressure. Get through that cardstock. And I had a little excess sticking out past the edge there. Let's clean that up. And then I had this nice looking base. There's a little piece of wonky shit there. I'm going to scrape that. I'm going to cut a line down the middle. And one off to the side. That maybe we'll just add a little bit of different looking shit in the end there. I'm just going to put some glue in there and sturdy up where I cut through the opening. Okay. Base. Good. Let's make the base a little more exciting. To do that, I'm just going to cut some cardboard panels to throw on there. Like that. This will just add some different looking layers to my piece. I'm going to bend this one, give it a little bit of a twisted metal kind of deal. So maybe it has a little bit of texture once I'm done with it. I'm going to stick it over top of that one. Like that. That's pretty much my base. What I want to make today is a worm. Like a big mechanical worm coming out of the ground. A mecha worm, if you will. So I need a toilet paper roll. Or a paper towel roll. You see what I got? What do I got? I got hardcore stuff. All this stuff's too hardcore. This is like super heavy duty. It came with this cool piece. We'll say, oh my god, that piece could be useful. We'll see what else I got. To the window, to the wall. I got sweat running down my arm. I meant arm. Arm is what I meant. Alright. I have news, not necessarily good. It appears this is the only roll I have laying around for some reason. Which is strange because I usually have more. I don't know where they could be. Do 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 do. Wow, something is seriously off. All right, we're going to have to make this one work. It's going to have to be big enough. Let's bring our camera up. Whoop. And let's figure out how we're going to... It's really thick, so it's not going to cut nicely. So we're going to try to cut it with this. And we're going to want it to be in like kind of three of those. Let's make this one a little less pronounced. Come on, you bastard. Close enough for government work. Something like that. It's going to be the basis of our robotic worm. Maybe I can make it a little more pronounced like this. Try it that way. Yeah, let's try that. Hold on, let's cut a little bit of this off. See if we can get it to fit a little better. Get a little bit better of an angle. Okay. Oops. Terribly done. Missed a bunch of it. That's okay. We can make it work. Let's kind of get those kind of seated the best we can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we want it to be sturdy. Get as much surface area as possible connected. Just get a good bond. I'm not worried about perfection, but when am I ever? Oh, it's hot. All right, let's get some on here. Just like that. We'll get that on here. Like that. Perfect-ish. Okay, good. All right, so now we want to mount this on the base so that a lot of the weight's off to one side, not directly in the center. So as we build this up and it gains weight, it will be pretty sturdy. So we're going to get this glued. In place like that. Pretty good. Now let's cut a bunch of strips and give this thing metal plates all over it, and that'll kind of clean it up and sturdy it up and add different texture. I'm not really measuring these. Just kind of making them between this and that thick. I'm getting skizzers. And I'm going to try to... I don't know what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to... try to mash these into place roughly how I want them to sit. I'm hoping that if we don't make a mess here, we can keep everything looking good. So pre-mushing these down so that they kind of stick nicer and meet up down here. I'm going to cut some of this excess off. Just make things meet up a little easier. I'm going to get a little bit of a thicker piece. I'm going to do this in a couple different chunks on this one. I'm going to curl it up, smash it up, kind of like a dyno truck scenario here. Ouch. Oh well, sometimes you get a little bit burnt when you're rushing. Everybody's Russian. Not everybody. But there are Russian people in a neighborhood near you. Making pieces for my piece. Pieces for my pieces, homie. Alright, so it's crucial that you get a good bond on this stuff and you try to make it fit as natural as it, not natural, but as good as you can so it doesn't look dumb. Softening this up or using foam sheets are both good options for this kind of thing. Okay, just kind of make sure everything stays down. Small pieces like this to cover gaps would be good. Okay, something like that. Cover that gap up. That gap's not super noticeable, but we'll make a piece for that too. We'll make this one kind of long and wonky so it doesn't make sense to the rest of the model. Okay, let's get here. And just wrapping this up and giving it some wrinkles and stuff will make it easier to place. Okay, one more. Should have blew my nose. Okay. All right, now let's get some of the natural platings that we can use to kind of cover up some of these like twisty seams and stuff with this. Let's just bend them up, get them placed on there haphazardly, and this is going to fill this thing out and make it look more interesting for sure. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Make it a little bit punk rock, you know what I'm saying? Booyah. Okay. Ran out of glue, hoo-hoo. Throw that one on there that way. And we got more seam down here. I heard it helps if you don't throw your scissors. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't want to make any judgment on that till I know more information. I'm just cutting these shapes like that because I like them. They work good for this kind of stuff. So how do I know if this is the right size for my table? Well, one, I've been using the same table for 15 years, and I know how big my battle mats are and how big my fights tend to be. When I go beyond that, I use special conditions to show that the fight is bigger than normal. Sometimes I use a very small space to represent a fight to show that the bigger area is beyond what's rational to recognize as part of fight zone. It's a weird technique, but it tends to work. Let's get a couple more plates on here. Try to get that down underneath there a little bit like that. There we go. And we'll get one more up here just to make this look cool. Okay. Definitely have a metallic looking body. Let's make a nice rim around where the head's going to mount, where the mouth is going to mount. To mount this, we want to I'm just trying to come out a little bit past. I'm going to let that cool for a moment. I'm going to get in here, bring this all the way around underneath like that, let it cool a little bit, and I see where my piece ends up at. I'm going to dry cut that, or dry fit that, and then cut it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we want it to be ballpark. Okay, and then I had that tiny little piece there. What I want to do is I just want to cover that up. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to snip off that little excess. Okay, now I want some different, like, kind of 3D kind of looks to them. So straws or toothpicks or anything that you have like that would be good. Let me see what I got. I had a little thing of coffee stirring straws here that would have been perfect for it, but I can't seem to find them. Oh my lordy, lordy, look who's fucking 40. Yeah, I don't know, dudes. I had a bunch of good stuff. I got no good stuff. Can't find my straws. Lost them. Looking for some straws. Can't find any straws. So we're gonna use skewers, because I can't find my straws. We're gonna get some snippers. And we're just gonna snip out a bunch of little pieces. Like that. Ow. And we're just going to mount these in lines, following the direction the body would go through the ground. So I'm going to stick them on. I'm going to kind of roll them back and forth so they get a good bond, and just let them go like that. And you can do these however you want. You don't have to do it just the way I'm doing it. Okay. Let's get one on this side. I just want these to look like kind of weird pieces. that don't make sense to the construction. Why are they on there? I don't know. Mostly just to add different textures and layers and make this thing fill out and look a little more exciting than just boring. Is the main reason, I would guess. I have some cool pieces. Not these. These are cool too. I have some cool pieces I want to grab. Where are the cool pieces? I can't find the cool pieces. Alright, I found the cool pieces. These are disposable weed eater attachment pieces, like for a weed eater head, that just, pardon me, were just total garbage, and they broke a lot. But they had this cool, like, knife edge blade to them. So I thought these would make good fins for something like this. So I'm going to cut them at a little bit of an angle. I'm going to throw a dab of glue on it. Then I'm going to try to mount those around in different spots in different ways to make it kind of interesting. Just a thought that I had. If you don't have these, you could use cardstock or anything really, and I'm sure it would look fine. It's just me trying to pimp this a wee bit. I might be able to use those other parts for something too, you know. And then obviously the more drastic of an angle you cut, the further back they're going to lean. I don't want them to be symmetrical, so I'm not really measuring anything or figuring anything out. It was just an idea I had. I saw them when I was coming in, that my son had picked a bunch up from this box that fell open. And I was thinking to myself, man, these would be cool for something. And then I was working on the project, and I was like, yeah, I should use them. Okay. Now, if something's burrowing through the ground, blades like this would not make sense. But I've kind of got a theme already going in my world where things don't make sense. Like the people that designed it don't understand how things work or understand stuff, but it somehow magically or mechanically, I guess, works anyways. So it's not a bad theme. Like I said, you could easily cut this out of cardstock or anything. You don't need these actual blade things that I have, but they are cool. I'm going to cut a kind of a fat one here. To go up underneath, like right there. And I don't think I need any more of those. Now for the mouth, I wanted to have bunches of rows of teeth kind of like going in concentrically, reminiscent of a shark or something. Let me see if I can find something small to fill in that hole. I have this foam skull. See if I can do something with that to cause like a blocking kind of situation. Something like that. Okay, there's some kind of plug there. It's going to take a second to dry. So for my rows of teeth, I don't have a plan. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm going to just use whatever, but it's not as easy as that, you know what I mean? Just gluing a poker chip in here, half-ass. Let that sit and cool. Let me look for some parts, some pierts. So I found what I think I'm looking for. Maybe. And it's going to be this plastic egg. It's going to be perfect for the inside of that mouth. I just need to get a rim on here to hold that in. Okay, cool. And let's make our first row of teeth. And to make my first row of teeth, all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut pieces of cardstock into triangles. And then I'm going to try to mount them in there. I want them to be pointed out just the slightest bit, but I don't want it to be over the top. I want it to look kind of... So, because this mouth isn't made for chewing, it's made for spinning and processing. That needs glued better. Okay. That'll be my first row of teeth. Like that. Then I need a disc or something to put over that, like something with a hole. I have these cool things somewhere. I'm looking for them now. That might be perfect. These are from like Insure things that I don't even know where they came from. Might fit perfectly. Oh, it's exactly what we needed. Okay. Shove that on there. Like that. And we'll do another row of teeth. With this row of teeth, I have 4 of these things. Oh, I have 5. I wanted 4. But what I want to do is I want to snip these off just like that. Oh, I broke it. Damn it. And I want to glue these sort of together. I didn't want that to break. Kind of like that. We'll have to make it work, right? No problem, we'll make it work. That's not going to work. Okay. Then we're just going to do this. like that. Get on one of these cool little Ensure things. Or whatever you have, pill bottle tops that you've gouged out, or any kind of like little O-rings. Anything really will work. You don't have to have what I have, you know. Just be creative. Cut them out of cardboard if you have to. Okay, I'm going to have to put it right kind of on top of that to make it work. Just like that. Get it down. And then I had some plastic forks somewhere. Could not find the plastic forks, but I have this hair pick from the Dollar Tree, and this will provide my last row of teeth. I was just going to use fork tines from a plastic fork. They call them tines or teeth, I don't even know. So with these, I'm going to get a decent sized glob. Since these have a natural kind of dip and groove in them, I'm just going to rub that around. Point those outward like that and let them dry. So this would be the first layer of like the burrowing, spinning device that grinds ore and stone and whatever it's collecting. Just like that. Now we're already at 32 minutes as I'm looking at my timer here. So if you guys are watching, do me a favor and say in the comments, is this kind of like when I finish the main build, do you want me to start a new video for the paint job? Do you want to wait and do the paint job while we're doing this? What do y'all prefer? I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to listen to you, but I'm going to try to take into account as I'm figuring out how I want to do videos from now on. I can't do what I used to do. I just don't have the energy. And I like doing them in one shot, but at the same time I realize that's not always perfect. And one more. Just like that. And those are the rotating teeth as it goes into the ground. Like these different mouths would spin, you know, even though mechanically that can't actually happen. So let's make sure everything's pretty sturdy. I feel like everything's pretty sturdy. I'm worried about those teeth a little bit. All right, let's get some of this more of this stuff on here. These are just little pieces of extra cutoff I had. And all I'm going to do is just make a little line. I'm going to shove that on there. And I don't care if it's perfect. And I don't care if it's sticking up a little bit. All I'm doing is adding extra interest to this dude. Okay. Just making him a wee bit cooler. Just throw another triangle on there and move it around in the glue. Burn yourself a little bit. Shit like that. I have two of these extra pieces here. I think I'm going to make these come up like antennas off the back of his head. They're not as long as I'd like, though. What do you think about that? I'd like to have some kind of like antennas that make no sense because they'd be getting caught when he burrowed. I have to think about it for a second. All right, so what are some other things that we can use to make him look like he's scrap? Well, I don't know. Let me find something. I'll tell you. All right, getting some cardboard and separating it. Like that. The best you can. This cardboard is not ideal for this, apparently. Alright, so anyways, get in here and tear at it and get it separated. Thicker cardboard is way easier than this thin powerful stuff is. We can make some pretty cool chunks of corrugated metal to hook to glue to them. So all we want to do now is make sure we have a good bond, find spots where that can fit, mush it on the best we can, give them some corrugated metal. Look at that, not bad, not good, just corrugated metal. And let's get another little piece going. Down along his bottom here. Okay. Cool. Something like that. And last but not least, let's get some studs on them. So let's get a little piece of cardboard or cardstock or whatever you got laying around. I'm just going to use this remaining cardboard here. I'm going to make myself a little square. I'm going to put on that little square some stupid glue. And then, like I've said 100 times, my wife and mother both do gem bead paintings, which have all these little multicolored beads that you stick on shit to paint it. And we're going to use these to add some studs. So just poke it, dip it, stick it, and these are going to add a little bit more story to it. Another thing that's cool to do is to cut really small squares of cardstock and use those as rivets, but I'm lazy, and that's really, they look good too. I think they look good. Just little rivets all over it, just to give it some meow. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of yeah. Whoa. I think we're probably coming up on the most of people's attention spans at this point. So let's get these gem bead things on here and head towards the next step. So this thing has to be ripping out of the ground, okay? I'd like to put more of those on, but it's going to bore the shit out of you guys. So this thing needs to be ripping out of the ground. So the first thing we need is some chunks of something we can use that'll substantially increase around the base here and make it look like it's ripping out of the ground. So one of the good things that we have lots of, and is infinitely free, is cardboard and cardstock. And since the whole ground is made out of scrap metal and piles of junk, and you're going to get a lot of cool textures ripping cardboard up randomly, I promise you. Okay. And then some cardstock. And we have our cutoffs from earlier, which will do nicely for this kind of work. All right, so to get in here and start this, you want to kind of bend out your metal in a shape and then start building your way outward like this is tearing out of the ground. Like this. You want your rough edges to be glued. so that the sharp edges are sticking out like the metal's bursted from there. But you can do it how you want, I suppose. But that's just what I want to go for. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roughly make a couple rows around it to make it more interesting. Cool, 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 cool. Cool, 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 cool. It's hot. Well, it is hot glue. And that'll learn me. I don't know where the super glue came from. I must have touched that piece over there. So now I'm going to get my cardboard. I'm going to do a second little bit of row. Kind of shove that underneath and have those sticking up in a different way. Okay. See that? These second rows don't have to be perfect. I might have to do 3, but maybe not because we got to get through this. Okay. My second row is not going to go all the way around. It's just going to be kind of half-ass and in some spots, alternating between my cardboard and my cardstock. All right, let's get a couple of chunks of other stuff here. I'm going to get a piece of this folded up and shoved onto my base. Just fold it in half, shoving it down, and then letting it dry. Let's get a couple of rocks on here, maybe. That'd look nice. A couple of rocks. To mount my rocks, I'm just getting a little bit of super glue and letting it run down along the edges of the rock so I get multiple contact points. That's all I'm doing. Just like that. And then you want that to be pretty sturdy, so we're going to get baking soda wherever I put that. We're going to bring this up here, and we're just going to sprinkle some baking soda on those to hold them in place, just like that. See that one didn't stick nice, so we're going to bring it back up there. We're going to sprinkle some dirt there. We're going to get a little baking soda on it. Cool, cool. I got a little bit of overspray on my super glue. Not overspray, but over dip. So I'm going to drag that around till it sticks where I want it to. I'm going to grab some of the excess baking soda off of there. Alright, now we need to paint this. So to paint it, glue here, worm on here. Okay. Let me get this cleaned off here. We need to sturdy this up a little bit in places to make sure nothing comes off. So I'm going to get my super glue. I'm going to run it along the edges of my cardboard in some spots and let it run down a little bit here and there, just to give this some structure and some sturdiness. That one's empty. Don't worry, I know a guy. Shady man named Lefty who has an infinite supply. It's appearing to be infinite supply. Okay. And this doesn't have to be perfect, like I said, but you do want it to be decent. You don't have to hit every edge, but just drop it along the edges and let it run down the pieces a little bit. It'll soak in and go where it kind of needs to go. Make things sturdy and good. And we'll hit some of these spots up here on the body, especially the, what do you call it, the corrugated spots, because they're going to be kind of weak. And then where the plastic touches, little drops there might help keep things a little more permanent. I'm not using a whole lot, just a little dibby dib, just to make it wet and kind of get a solid hold. Get some other spots here that need it. Get some of this around here. Okay, and I did use almost half of that in the process there. We do have some spider webs. This thing is kind of flammable right now, so if we were smart, we would not play with fate and catch this on fire. Remember, I just said the word if. Let me grab my futuristic mini blowtorch and get rid of spider webs. So look at the spider webs just melt away. Paper caught on fire down there. This cable is blowing out, no problem. Okay. I don't see any more spider webs. I'm going to base coat this, all right? I'm going to spray it in black. And then I'm going to spray it in some spots with red primer, which is actually brown. And then I'm going to spray it with a metallic finish. And when I come back, we'll paint it up. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon. Like, subscribe, share, whatever, all that crap. Do the stuff. I need to think about super gluing those teeth. Everything seems dirty. Do all this stuff to make the channel grow. Thank you very much. Help the great algorithm gods understand that we're just here trying to have a good time. And we'll come back and paint this. I'll see you next time.